welcome to my channel and welcome to my gallery in southwest France. This morning I had a lovely surprise. One of my artists coming for her class brought a beautiful bouquet of blue hydrangeas, or Hortensia as they are in France. The colours magnifique and I just have to paint them. So this is going to be our next video. So let's paint. So with the hydrangeas in a vase in front of me on the table, you see I have a large piece of 300 gram watercolour fine grain paper, 100% cotton, and I have two palettes, a lovely blue palette with several blues, French ultramarine, Windsor blue red shade, permanent rose, and a little bit of Payne's grey as well. And on the other palette, which is the green palette, I have Windsor blue green shade and transparent yellow. I want this picture to be an impression of the hydrangeas. It's not a botanical study. It's just to celebrate their beauty and their colour. And as the title of the video suggests, I want the paint to create. So I'm giving the paint the best option possible to give me that effect by wetting the paper all over with a hake brush. And now I'm spotting the colours of blue on the paper. I am looking at the vase, at the flowers, just to kind of get a slight correlation with the distribution of the flowers, but it is very random and it's all going to move because the paper is wet. So this is a very flexible and lovely way to start a picture. The paint is going to create the picture for me, and then I'm going to use what is created to create my flowers. It's on the board, this painting, because this is quite a long process, and it will last a couple of days. And I have speeded up the rest of the video. This is just speeded up a little bit so I can give you the initial explanation of how we're going to work. But it's just a wonderful way to start a picture. I never do pencil work with a picture like this. I don't want to do detailed pencil work and then just end up colouring in the flowers, which makes for a very static, lifeless view of the flower. Now I want these flowers to blossom and do their own thing. So this is just what we're going to start off with to encourage that process, putting on different textures and letting the paint create the picture for us. I don't really want hard edges at this stage, and so once I've got paint on the paper, I put water by the side just so that the paint will flow in, and this will give us some areas that stay white because the areas are still dry, and it will help the colours to mix. So you can see that the permanent rose has gone into some of the blues to create violet, and I'm just manipulating the paint. It's a lovely effect because we get darker areas and lighter areas, and it's good to move the board from time to time so you get that lovely combination of colours. I'm not trying to create the picture, I'm just getting the texture on the paper, so then later on I have the chance to create something special. Light in this picture is coming from the right hand side, and so the detail that I have on the right hand side of the picture will be more intricate, maybe more detailed, and the flowers on the left hand side will be darker, I am thinking of that at this stage, so it's not totally unplanned, but as you see, I'm doing lots of different dots and splashes just so that we get a maximum amount of texture and interest on the paper. Because the paper's wet, the little spots and dots of colour that I'm putting on are going to move. Some of them will disappear entirely and others will blend with other colours, but it's just giving us that extra interest. And somehow, even though it's not planned, we start to see that yes, there are hydrangea florets there, they're just a little bit blurred. But that's what we want at this stage, nothing exact. Now I'm doing some blending on the edge. We don't want hard edges at this stage because they might be in the wrong place. And so to avoid hard edges, I'm just adding clean water on the edge of the colour, just so that it can move a little. This is keeping all the options open, so we don't have anything which is going to be difficult to move later. I want a little hint of green because of course the hydrangea leaves are dotted in between the flowers. And so I'm just adding a little bit of green in several places, nothing drastic, just so that it's there for future reference. And again, just because I don't want hard edges and the paper is fairly wet, now I can move it and the green will start to blend a little. You can see how wet the paper is by the shine against the light there. Now, just to spice it up a little, I'm going to spatter some paint on as well. I like movement in pictures. I don't like things to be static and posed, and so spattering the paint on will give us that movement, especially when it's going diagonally across the paper. Now finally, for this stage, I'm just going to add more clean water to the edge, again to avoid any hard edges. And that is the first stage, more or less complete. Now the paper is partially dry, and I'm using the mop brush to take out some areas of paint where the flower heads are going to be. Usually the flower heads of the hydrangea have 4 petals, and so I'm taking out the colour more or less in that arrangement, although when the flowers are tightly packed in the head of the mop head of the hydrangea, you don't always see all the 4 petals, so it's easy they're just a jumble of colour really, and light and shade, and it's the light and shade that I'm trying to produce here. The darker colour on the left of the picture, it's coming out very nicely. The blue is still wet enough to remove it. It's always a challenge to find the optimum time to do this. If the paper's too wet, then the colour will run back in and you have to do it again later. but this is working very well, and I'm starting to see exactly where the flower heads will be just by taking out some colour and creating some more texture. Paper's a little bit drier now, and I'm able to spot some colour in again. This particular part of the picture is going to be darker because I think they're called lace cap. They have little buds. It's a mixture of open flowers and little buds and tiny flowers. And I'm going to work on this as being an important part of the picture. So I'm taking out colour and putting colour in now. Still damp enough to do that, which is good. And now I'm doing the reverse. I've got my long liner brush and I'm creating little clouds of white by spotting the clean water into the colour, and it moves the pigment and creates a bloom of white, which will start to bring the hydrangeas more into focus. This is just a magic process, but you have to kind of not use too much water or the blooms become too big, and it's just at the right time to do this. So things start to take form and the flowers suddenly magically appear. I hope you can see it clearly. My camera skills are not honed to perfection yet, but I am working on it. Also on the right hand side, I want more detail in a flower which is seen almost in profile. And these little details I'm starting to add now. So basically the picture is starting to take form and I'm starting to know where we are with the composition. Now we're up close and personal, so you can see the detail, and some of the colour that I took out earlier I'm now emphasising by adding darker colour around. So this is very detailed work. The little florets, the little petals, the 4 petals starting to be visible. And of course I'm not going to do this all over the picture. It will be too tedious and too detailed, but there are certain areas that I want to be detailed and others where they won't be detailed at all, as you'll see as the picture progresses. This is quite a long, involved picture, which really I hadn't planned to do as a video, but those blue hydrangeas are just, I couldn't do anything but have a go and paint them, and so I thought, well, okay, we'll video it and see how it turns out. So this is a bit longer than usual. I hope you'll stick with me, because I feel at the end of the day it's done exactly what I wanted it to do and celebrated their beauty and their colour. But that's for later. This is very detailed stuff, and quite relaxing really if you just get into the process, going from one flower to another, just emphasising them by adding darker colour around the petals. Centres are always important. If you do the little button centre, that helps you to focus on where the flower is and how it's nestles next to its neighbours. Okay, that's some of the detail stuff. Here we're carrying on, but you can see that I've moved on a stage further. We're now not quite so up close to the picture, just to give you the general all over effect. And you see that adding the darker colour around has given us quite a lot of information in the central part of the picture where I want the main flower to be. So I'm using all the texture that we put on the paper initially to give me lots of scope to add darker colour to bring that texture out. Now we're a little bit more advanced and you can see how the picture is taking shape. I've added more detail to the flower, which is almost in profile on the right hand side, and I'm going back and consolidating some of the flowers in the middle of the picture using darker colour. Sometimes you have to do this several times. It can be a bit tedious because you think, oh, I've done enough, it's dark enough now, and then it dries and we don't really see what's happening. The hydrangeas out to the left and at the top of the picture are less defined, and they're going to stay that way. So in the middle of the picture is where I want the detail, and in the bottom right. So this is what I'm focusing on now, and you see the flowers are coming out in more detail as we work. I think we'll leave it now, otherwise it gets too tedious. And here now we've moved on massively really, and you can see all the detail that I've done in the main flower in the centre, and I'm just working in the area where I don't want too much detail, but I do want some more contrast. My head's in the way. As I said, my video skills are not that good sometimes, sorry about that. But I'm adding more contrast now, and this is less detailed, intricate work, but it is important because I want to add that shading which is going to bring out the detailed flower at the front. So this is Windsor Blue Red shade that I'm spotting colour in as well. It's all coming together, just a long process, and you're really seeing the edited highlights of it, but I hope you are enjoying it, as I am. It's been a lovely picture to paint. Lots of blending happening on the edge. Don't want hard edges. Those two top hydrangea flowers are in the distance, so they just need to be washed into the existing texture with water. Looking at the leaves now, have to do something with the leaves. So I've got my green palette and going in there quite strongly with the mop brush and the green Windsor Blue green shade, bravely doing the leaf. central rib, and then take your brush out either side of the central rib just to kind of get the direction of curve of the leaf. Little bit of blending. This of course is speeded up, don't move that quick, but I hope you can get the gist of it even so. This leaf coming down, I don't want to be as strong, so I've used a lighter green and I'm washing it more with water, but it needs to be there but not as strong. If it was there in the same depth of colour as the one on top, it wouldn't help with the composition, because we want the viewer's eye to be taken through the picture, and that leaf will help to direct your eye along across the bouquet. That's the theory of it anyway. Another leaf here, which is again quite an important one, so I'm making it stronger. And I do go back to this leaf several times to darken it. Sometimes these things are not accomplished in one go. Some blue I'm adding just for extra shading, because it is underneath the hydrangea flower above it, which still needs some work, which you'll see in a moment. More blue going on to give that leaf more depth. At this stage of the picture, I begin to feel that everything is coming together, and that's a great feeling, because you think, oh, it's going to work out. Doesn't always, but there we go. More shading and let it move. I just love those blues. Just fantastic colour. Sorry about my clock. So now we're nearly at the point. I've added more green to the leaves on the right hand side, and now I'm adding more shading to the hydrangea, which needs a little bit of work. I just want it to have a little bit more detail and a little bit more shading, and it needs to look rounder, so it's getting shadow on the left hand side. Because watercolour is transparent, I'm not going to lose any of the detail. This is the magic of it. Painting with acrylics, you can paint out detail by overpainting, but with watercolour, no, you see the detail shining through, which is lovely. Still feel I need some more shading at the bottom there, just to emphasise the very detailed hydrangea in the foreground. Just add water then, so we don't have any tide lines. And you know, I think we're getting to the point where I'm going to stop. It's very easy to keep on going at this stage, to add little bits and look at it. And I might stop in a moment and then leave it to dry and come back to it tomorrow and see how I feel. But I think we've got there. this is the paint creating my blue hydrangeas. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed my video and it's inspired you to try some of the techniques that we've used. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and leave any comments you may have. I leave you with the image and the beautiful flowers that inspired it. Till the next time, bye!